You can stand in a crowd of 1,000 people and still feel like no one sees you, not really. They might smile, nod, even laugh at your jokes, but deep down, there's a silence that never leaves. A kind of emptiness that clings to your skin even when your phone lights up with messages. That is what chronic loneliness feels like. It is not just being alone, it is being unseen, unfelt, unheard, and that loneliness stays. Here's the part no one really says out loud. You can love people, have a family, work with a team every day, and still carry that ache with you like a shadow that will not let go. See, we are living in the most connected time in history. Millions of followers, group chats, voice memos. Yet somehow, so many of us have never felt more isolated. It is not just a mood. Chronic loneliness changes your body, rewires your brain, and makes the world feel gray even when the sun is out. This video is not about quick fixes. It is about understanding this feeling, where it comes from, what it does to us, and how we can start coping with it in a world that never stops moving. So if you have ever sat in a room full of people and felt completely invisible, this one is for you. Let us talk about what it means to live with chronic loneliness, and how we can begin to feel human again. Loneliness does not always start with isolation. Sometimes it begins with disconnection from ourselves, from our emotions, and from the people we thought would always be there. It is not just about lacking friends. It is about feeling as if the connections you already have do not truly reach you anymore. As if everyone is speaking a language you no longer remember how to understand. For some people, it begins in childhood. A parent who was there but emotionally absent. A home that looked normal but never felt safe. For others, it shows up after trauma. A breakup that shattered more than the heart, a job loss. A move to a new city where no one knows your name, and sometimes loneliness creeps in so slowly you never see it coming until it has settled quietly into every corner of your life. One day you are texting everyone back, then one day you are not, and no one notices. That silence becomes the part that hurts the most, because deep down every person wants the same simple thing: to be seen, to be understood, to know that if they disappear tomorrow, someone somewhere would feel that loss. When days turn to weeks and then months without that recognition, you start believing you do not matter, and that belief sinks deep. Most people never realize that chronic loneliness does not only bruise emotions, it wears down the nervous system, makes sleep fragile, pulls focus away, and strips joy from ordinary things. You begin to withdraw to avoid the pain of trying again, believing protection is safer than disappointment. But each retreat makes the world feel smaller and yourself more distant. Here is where understanding starts to heal, because knowing why you feel this way is the first real step toward change. The problem is not you. It is the gap between the depth of connection you need and the speed of a world that races too fast to offer it, leaving hearts like yours waiting for the moment someone slows down enough to see. When loneliness becomes a part of your life, you begin adapting to it without even noticing. Small protective rules form quietly inside you. You build low, invisible walls. You stop reaching out first. You say you are fine so often that people simply stop asking. At first it feels safe. You are shielding yourself from rejection, from awkward pauses, from that distant look in someone's eyes that says they are not really listening. But slowly these small guards turn into patterns. You cancel plans. You scroll instead of speaking, and you start convincing yourself that being alone is easier than being unwanted. From the outside, you may not appear lonely. You go to work, you smile on cue, you post the happy photo, you make the right joke. Yet inside it feels like living behind glass, able to see life but unable to touch it. One of the most damaging habits is pretending you are fine for too long, because the longer you fake it, the harder it becomes to be honest. The ache you hide only grows louder once everything else goes quiet. Some people isolate because they do not want to burden others. Some because they have been ignored too many times. And some because they have forgotten completely how to be close to anyone. Loneliness does not always look like tears. Sometimes it looks like distraction, or being busy all the time. Sometimes it shows up as laughter that does not feel real. If you have been stuck there, remember this truth: you are not broken, you have been surviving, and survival is not the same as connection. When you have been lonely for a long time, connection starts to feel like a foreign language. You want it deeply, but you no longer know how to ask. You wish for closeness, yet your body flinches at the idea of being open again. So the beginning of healing is gentle, slow breaths and small efforts, not rushing into noise but learning first what safety inside connection feels like. Healing from loneliness does not mean throwing yourself into crowds. It means rebuilding trust in smaller spaces, in messages you were scared to send, in quiet replies that say, "Just thinking of you." Sometimes it is joining a book club, a class, an online space, where people gather through shared feelings instead of forced smiles. Even a short exchange can become proof that humans still reach back. Real connection is rarely dramatic. It is in the small recognitions. Someone remembering your name, someone noticing your absence. It is allowing people in even when every instinct screams no. Even when your walls are high. Even when the past warns you it will hurt again. Let them in slowly, a sentence at a time. Because trust builds quietly, through silences shared and moments extended when you want to leave but stay. You do not have to tell the whole story. You only need to show up a little more today than yesterday. That is the honest courage. Connection requires small continuous presence. The secret is that most people are just as lonely as you, waiting for someone else to go first. So maybe you go first, not from desperation, but because you deserve the connection you have always been reaching for. Before we move on, if any of this feels too close to your own story, know that you are not the only one. The fact that you are still here means something inside you believes this can get better. Pause. Take that breath and understand. This is already the beginning of connection. If you can leave even a small comment, a dot, or the word same, because you would be surprised how many others feel exactly what you feel. Sometimes the smallest visible sign becomes the first shared bridge between two people who had believed no one else would understand.